Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Growing Up Alien. On today's podcast, we have one of our friends back, as he's been in great demand, of course. We have Nathan Sizik with us again today, and it's always a great honor to chew the fat, as they say, with Nathan concerning the interesting several weeks old stew pot that we're constantly being stirred around in. But anyway, so thank you, Nathan, for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. Since you're growing up alien, I'm growing up under tyranny.
Well,
We can
I,
all, we can all say that.
Yeah, I had a fair share of bullshit for sure. There's not, I don't think there's, yeah, that's part, part of the title is that, it's for folks who identify with that concept, hey, I'm not from here. I'm definitely an alien. It's like, yep, that's where, I figured, well, what a great title that would be because
Yeah, I don't think everybody else is an alien, actually. They act like they're from someplace else.
yeah, that's,
The
well,
three-letter word starts with H.
yeah, well, Earth is the, the recycling bin garbage pan, I think of, I got a new word now. I call it like the abominations they've created on this planet.
Yeah, it's the anchovy. It's like you take the smell of anchovies, max it by 1,000%, and then you can call Earth the armpit of the universe. It seems.
Close. Yeah,
Man, with some rancid anchovies thrown in there, maybe some cheese or
some cheese. Yeah.
something. Right, some bad cheese.
You know what? If you've ever
Remember,
smelled a rotten potato,
I
that
had a, I had a potato clock. I vaguely remember that smell, and it gets really nasty.
and it stays. Oh yeah, that thing, man. That or we used to have the rotten eggs too because when we had chicken years ago when I was growing up as a kid. So this hen, her name was Blackie. She was my friend, and she used to lay in the field underneath all of the blackberries that we had there, and you wouldn't find them until a while later. So the kids and I we would just like throw rocks at them, and they'd blow up, and
Mhm.
oh, rotten egg. I mean that was that'll grow hair on you. I tell you, that's a.
Well, let's get to the shit show analysis. So,
Oh, we're not in it yet. There's more. There's.
we're just complaining and saying hi, but all right, the Epstein situation. Everyone's just in awe or shocked about all of this stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm really enjoying myself at least in a little bit because some of the people that I've watched in the independent media that have literally avoided this intentionally, thought it was crazy. There's nothing to it. Now I'm listening to them react to in the exact same way that most of us reacted long, long time ago when we found out about it. It's kind of refreshing to see it
Well,
because
I
now
mean,
you have voices.
if you see the media doing that, then there's an agenda there. That's a psyop.
Oh, I haven't seen the media do it because I haven't been
Okay, I was
watching
gonna say if the media does
it.
that.
I have watched a couple of clips that popped up on Facebook, but I'm talking about the independent media or
Oh, yeah,
something. I mean, these are the people, not an Alex Jones type. He's
right.
been middle of the road apologist for trying to apologize for Trump and then, you know, saying his normal stuff. He's been exposing this for a long time, but he's compromised now with
No,
a law.
actually, yeah.
And it's not that Trump is going to help him. He doesn't seem to help anybody, but he's hoping that he can get some favor somewhere in a court because he got sued for $2.5 trillion for Sandy Hook,
Oh, yeah.
which is, I think, the GDP of India, he said, and at
Yeah,
least Navy. But
my God.
yeah, so anyway, people are wondering what this whole thing's about. And you talked about something on your show that I wrote on Facebook,
Yeah,
which got about maybe 2 dozen views because I'm in an echo chamber.
right.
So for anybody that's asking or wondering and hasn't heard it yet, it's what I would call the transference of negative karma. What they're doing is this is a it's a hermetic principle, it's an occult principle, Lucifer, whatever you want to call it. The idea is if you can, if you're going to commit an act, an atrocity, a violation of some kind to someone or some group of people, they believe that you can eliminate the negative. They believe you can get rid of the karma, the negative karma, if you tell them somehow or another, usually an indirect way.
Right.
And if they don't object to it, that it's consensual. So it's their
Absolutely.
fault.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like a used car salesman that says, I just ripped that single mother off for $5,000 and half of that went in my pocket. But I don't feel guilty about it because she thought she got a good deal.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, that's actually how your average person operates.
that's the reptilian type of way of doing things.
Reptilian. My father used to tell stuff like that when I remember growing up, and he would say, that I don't know, he had seen something, or whatever, but he's like, they did some kind of study where like you get people who would sell anybody out for like $5.
Yeah, there's a lot of those people.
Well, I used to talk about that in class. I said, all right, because the kids they don't know any history, so let's try to say, well, they have heard of Nazi Germany. All right, so a little bit. Don't overthink that they know more than they do. But I said, look, the people. Anytime you see a genocide, I said anywhere in the world, I said it isn't the leaders that do the killing; it's your neighbor.
Right.
And I'm trying to, it's so easy. It's like everybody blames, and then that's the way the cabal works. So they'll pull up some figure and they'll hold him up as the bad guy. See, this is the bad guy. This is the bad guy. That guy didn't do jack shit. They don't lift a
Right.
finger. It's your neighbor. It's your relatives. When you go back to the stories of Eastern Germany, you regularly had family members witch hunt each other. I mean, this is your average, and I try to tell this to my students that your average person in the right situation, and doesn't even have to be a big deal, will shoot you in the head for no reason. There's a great museum. It's in Rwanda. It's the Genocide Museum. And people are garbage. And it's because in their head they have this lack mentality. They can't reason. They have a script, and we've been talking about this a lot, and you always mention it's not. They have a script they run. It's
The heart of that script is selfishness.
yes,
And they just want to be accepted by the majority, is what it is. And they don't care what it takes to get accepted by the majority as long as it's the easy way to out. It's the
yeah,
easy path. It's for them, it's the path of least resistance.
right.
So when I went out and I told everyone, don't get the stabination, which we probably can't even say by name because if we do, we'll still be in trouble. Because if we're not giving out disinformation, then we're giving out medical advice.
That's
So
right.
then it's all about credentialism, which is another form of religion. But when I was out telling people not to get it, the majority of the problem that I have are people worrying about, well, what are my neighbors going to think if I don't get it? What is my family going to think if I don't get it? They're always worried about what somebody else thinks.
Well, yeah.
And there's literally no logic in that because if everyone's wrong, then are you going to just continue to, you're just going to go along with it?
Yeah.
What I found was, and I think this is the best way to put it, for those people that are waiting for a revolution or waiting for a solution to come from other people, if you just look at what happened during the stabinations and how everyone conformed to that, that's exactly what you're going to get. The same thing happened in Germany in the 1940s, and the same thing's going to happen here. I was on a podcast not long ago, and a friend was in the chat and asked the question. He asked, do you think there's going to be a revolution? I'm like, absolutely. I was like, no. These people they're domesticated. They don't think that.
That's what I've been saying. There's a cognitive. I said this is the same thing. You're actually asking, hey, do you think those cows over there are going to all get together and take down the fence and attack the farmer in his house and bust down his door? And because a cow could do that. You could, if you had 50 head of cows, right? They could easily, with their mass, take down a fence, find the farmer's house, bash down the door, trash the whole place, and be like, yeah, animals. If the animals, I used to have a dream of this when I was a kid. If we could only get all the animals to get rid of all the people, that was a fantasy I had as a child. We could just get the animals. Like I would love any movies where they had animals like attacking. I've been YouTube, so where the animals would get vengeance, and I was like, yeah. And but ultimately, the answer is there. You don't have that. There's something in the brain that's removed, or the genetic that's turned off, or there's something they did.
Been conditioned out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you domesticate an animal, This is known. You don't have to. So the animal, as a wild animal, this is just zoological, biological science. A wild animal has to think and reason and figure stuff out because there's natural selection. If you're stupid, you're not going to last very long. So
Right.
once they're domesticated, any animal that gets domesticated no longer has to do anything. So your majority of Terrans are nothing but livestock. They're domesticated. They don't have to do anything. And they don't want to. So you're going to get to a point where that's why I call it an abomination. Because now you have a race on this planet that no longer can and has no desire to be sovereign. They want to be a kept livestock.
Yeah, it's rather disgusting.
It is. That's
and, and now, if you look at the ET races that operate in this way, it's as above, so below. We're simply we've been living under their system, and it's becoming more and more like their system all the time.
uh-huh.
Now we've got AI coming in, and they're going to start brain chipping people, which people are gonna. There's going to be a small number of people who verbally object, but once they start having financial sanctions, they'll go along with it.
Bingo.
I mean, it's hard to fathom when you think about it. Like, people are going to actually line up to go to a surgery center. Yes, they are.
Yes.
Yes, they are. If it means if it means that for some it's convenience, the phone will go in their head,
Yep.
and they can listen to commercials when they're trying to sleep. They'll see commercials when they're driving. It'll be popping into their head. There'll be an AI V2K handler checking in to see if they're doing what they're told. I mean, this is where we're headed, and they don't seem to care.
Oh
They
no,
just think
I will actually, I'll tell you that's what they want. If you describe that, if you package that for your average person, oh, you won't have to worry about this anymore. You won't have to worry about that anymore. You won't have to do this. You won't have to do that. We'll give you a cookie on Wednesday. They're all like, yeah, 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 yeah. They're lapdogs. You
no
throw
more
them a
username
cookie.
and passwords. We already know who you are.
Oh, they love it. Your average person would absolutely love this.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to go for that. So it's going to be like, like the grays and some of the insectoids and some of the other it's not their first race of humanoid that's gone synthetic. So that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's the thing that they don't realize, because they're in this illusion that there's nobody out there except for when the government tells them there's somebody out
Right,
there.
right. Yeah, yeah.
So I guess we'll shift into this phony, disclosure thing
Yeah.
that's happening, which is a big thorn in my ass, because I see all of these influencers. These are the people that don't get it. They don't get targeted. They don't get the shadow banning. They've got the green light to go talk. And they're all saying the same thing. They parrot the same messages because the Voice to Skull broadcast goes out to everybody. It's like the Associated Press.
Yes.
When the Associated Press puts out a certain story, then all of the other news agencies jump on and they follow the script. So when you turn on the TV, you can turn, it can be Cincinnati, Ohio. You're watching Channel 5 at 6 p.m. They're saying the same words at the same time during the same segment. You could go to LA, you could change time zones. You're going to get the same nonsense everywhere you go, because it all came down from the Associated Press. Well, we have another form of Associated Press. It's called the Defense Authorized Research Project Agency. And it's got other names too. That's just the company. That's just the agency that handles the tech. But you've got these handler networks, and these handler networks, these are full-time sociopaths, and all they do is they use AI to generate the storylines, and then because that's already factored in of what's going to be more successful. Right. So if we introduce this storyline to the public, well, the AI has already done multiple different ones and has already determined which one is going to work the best, not just by looking forward in time, but they've been doing behavioral modeling for the entire civilization. So they've got everything, that all this data is going into an artificial intelligence, and it's putting out exactly what's going to be the most successful storyline. So it isn't just like, they're sitting around and it's a group of writers brainstorming. It's much more sophisticated than that. I don't even know if these people are capable, even themselves, of coming up with a good bullshit story. The AI does it for them. So then they just broadcast it out, and then it's just a bunch of people. And I was there myself, and I put this out recently on Facebook. I explained how this happened to me back in 2020, right after the election fraud happen. Hopefully we can say that. Oh, for those on YouTube, we're talking about the Republicans stealing an election. Then it's okay.
And it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine then.
This is for
Yeah.
entertainment purposes. We're always for entertainment purposes only.
Yes. So, but anyway, I don't know. I don't know where to go with this, but getting back to these influencers, I'm just going to skip what I was going to say. Going back to these influencers, they're all saying the same thing, and they all think that there's going to be a quantum financial system coming in, and this, of course, will happen under President Donald Trump, because this means they're going to wipe out all of our credit. I mean, all of our negative credit, all of our debt's going to go away. The national debt, credit card debt, personal loan debt, everything's just going to be a clean slate for everybody. And then everything's going to get better. And then the med beds are going to come. Amazon's going to be delivering one to everybody. It's like owning a tanning bed, but now it'll be a med bed to fix everything. So the pharmaceutical industry is going to go away. They're not going to make any more money. No more surgeries. Doctors are all going to quit. It'll just be med beds, manufacturers, and technicians. And then, of course, consultants on how, you call tech support and you say, my tooth is still missing. And well, set it on number 4. Teeth are a little hard to reproduce. So that's what people think it's going to be. And they think it's going to be boundless freedom. And we're going to get disclosure. And there's people pointing towards Steven Spielberg. It's just, and I have to ask myself, it's like, I got to just put it this way. How dumb can you be to think that we're going to get the truth from the same people that have lied about everything? And then they'll point to the Epstein files, and I say, see, that's proof. There's proof that something's changing. And this goes back to the original problem.
Yeah.
They're putting out this information not just to get rid of the karma. Okay, in their minds, they get rid of the karma, but in reality, it's not true. But at the same time, they're conditioning the public. And, it's like if you put your hand in the fire over and over again, eventually you're not going to flinch anymore. Right. You just start becoming desensitized to this thing. So the more nonsense you hear, the less you listen to, and the more you tune out. So there's that. And then, of course, you got the people that need to be spoon-fed something to make them feel better so that the hamster stays on the wheel.
Right.
But for the most people I talk to, in the general public, they're disgusted with the system. There's a group that doesn't want to talk about it. They don't want to even consider it. They just want to block it all out. Then you have the other people who pay attention enough, but are just so overwhelmed with it. They're tired of it, and they feel hopeless, helpless. There's nothing you can do about it. And then you got the people who were upset about it. Of course, there's a solution to those people too. You just keep feeding them bullshit.
Right.
And of course, then they turn these people into the ones that put out the BS for the rest of the people to look at and say, I've heard this over and over again. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Right. Right.
They're desensitizing the public to accept the inevitable, which is accepting all of this is going on. And when it comes down to this disclosure, we've already had disclosure. We've had disclosure for a long time. Nobody cared. The public doesn't care. The children are being abducted. They don't care that people are being basically, trafficked on and off planet, raped, cut up, eaten, whatever. They don't care.
They don't care.
It's like Pam Bondi said, hello, the Dow is up. The stocks are doing good.
They are.
What do you care? What do you care about? It's not your kids, somebody else's.
Right. It's somebody. Exactly.
She didn't say that. She said, the Dow's up and you've all got Trump derangement syndrome. It's like, well, he's in the files too, and goes back to the beginning. And that, kind of reminds me too, during Trump's first term, there was all these failures of getting rid of the corruption. And you find when you look back at that and you see it for what it is, it wasn't even an effort to get rid of the corruption. You had an inept president who made promises, we're going to get rid of the corruption. The first clue that he gave us that he was not really who he says he was is when he accused the criminals of just being stupid. Oh, they're stupid. They don't know any better. BS. They know exactly what they're doing. How dumb could you be? I've been studying this since I was 14. So I'm 52, almost 53. I'll be 53 at the end of this month. Okay. So it's almost 49 years that I've been researching this. If I could have done it with the little means that I had, at 14, saving up allowance money, and then buying books because there wasn't internet back then. If I could do that and then spend hours a day, whenever I had spare time, I would do research. I know what's going on. How come the person who's running for president, who's supposed to be one of us, which never was,
Yeah.
is going to do something about it? So, and then what gets me is that I've got friends and I tell them, and I'm like the negative person. I'm like, well, look, they're like, he just put in a good attorney general. I'm like, Bob Barr. I said, he's been a CIA director. He's career CIA from the beginning. And then it comes out that his father was the one that got Jeffrey Epstein started. So everything, and then there was the Durham report and all of this. Now, meanwhile, all of this nonsense is going on, all this political theater. QAnon's going strong. QAnon's military intelligence,
Yep.
which strike one. You don't want to listen to that because these are the people with the dumbs. They're the ones doing the trafficking. They're the ones doing the bombing, the poisonings, and everything else that's going on. They're the ones handling the chemtrails, which is stratospheric aerosol injection. So how are they going to give it? Oh, but there's white hats. So another. Now here's the catch, Andrew, and you know this. The claim is that there's a substantial number of people called white hats. These are people that are the constitutional protectors. They're the rear guard, or the old guard of the Constitution. So they're supposed to be there, and they're going to protect us in the event that the United States becomes a completely fascist police state, which we're almost there now.
Aren't we already there? I thought.
Well, we're there, but not completely. They got to get full consent. So, they're working on that. We still have some free speech, but you pay a price for it.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway.
Well, I mean, I think the thing with free speech, this is part of the dichotomy they always throw out there, right? We don't have free speech. Sure, you can sit in your backyard and say whatever you want. But the minute you go on social media and talk about some stuff or use certain words, then you don't have free speech anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So the means, even when when we were growing up before internet, you had the only way you could have free speech is to have like a newspaper publish something or a book press. So you had massive censorship. So there's always been censorship, and we still have tremendous censorship. There's no such thing as free speech. Sure, you can sit in your basement and scream at a stone wall, but the minute you go out in public and start, in fact, now there's even more of a containment of this because any way in which you can present information is fully controlled. There's no free platform. There's no free radio, as they used to call it. Everything is censored.
Yeah, it is, and people just don't seem to get it because they like to believe that it's free speech. I mean,
there's no such thing. There never was any such thing as free speech.
I can give you a pretty good example of how I figured it out, and this was like a rude awakening. I knew something was wrong, and it was corrupt, the media and everything, but I didn't know it was this absurd. Yeah. I went to this event on July 4th. I think I was 16 years old. And it was called the Smoke-In. And it was Washington, D.C. It was a big cannabis legalization protest that had been going on for 2 decades prior to that, before I was there. And so I read in High Times magazine that it's always been a media blackout from day one. So we're marching, and we were getting ready to go, I think, to the Washington Monument or Capitol, wherever it was. I forget where they end at, but they do this march at noon. And so we got a couple of thousand people minimum. And we're marching, and there's wall-to-wall police officers standing with their legs spread real wide, and they're just looking like angry and stuff at us and glaring at us. And we're walking, and I look over to my left, and there was an area. It was like a field over there. I don't know what field it was, but it was. I'd have to look at the map to be accurate to this, but there was about 6 or 7 people with protest signs, and there was about 12 cameras. This is back when they had those big news cameras, huge, right? So there was almost double the amount of news press people there than there was protesters. And I'm like, what are they doing? And meanwhile, there's thousands of people marching, and this is going on. So then the next day, I turned on the news to see if we even got coverage, right? This is July 5th. And the only thing that they reported on was they said there was a very large anti-cannabis protest, anti-marijuana protest. They're using that word back then. And it was by the Partnership for a Drug-Free America. And they showed a clip, and it was like this little close angle, like not a wide, because there wasn't anybody there. So it wasn't a wide angle shot. It was a very narrow shot of just about 6 protesters holding those signs. And they were claiming this was a huge, thousands of people were marching. Well, that was the ones that were marching to legalize it,
Right.
not the prohibitionists that you covered. And they never once turned those cameras to us.
Wow. Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, okay, this is how it works. So it validated what I was reading, and I knew something was wrong anyway, because they weren't telling the truth about this whole alien presence. So getting back to that, and these influencers, you have this cosmic QAnon thing. This is like the merging of what I've heard is a program through handlers, Project Red Pill, which handles the political end of this. So they're sabotaging any ability of people to come together in an honest way, heartfelt way, to organize and take care of this growing tyranny that we have. So instead, they create a media circus, and what Project Red Pill infiltrates the independent media, but also controls the big media too. It's like an umbrella program that engineers this whole political theater that we're dealing with. So you have that going on. Then they merged it with whatever you want to call the program or programs that are here to sabotage the UFO ET disclosure side of things, which is, I guess you can call it the exopolitical and the terrestrial political, or just the political side. So now you got cosmic QAnon. Now you've got the merging of these two infernal, these two infernal things of disinformation. So it's like the match made in hell. And now we have these influencers out there telling us that all these good things are coming. Just trust the plan and trust the plan. When I was a couple of years ago, when I was still under the influence of these handlers, and even back before that, like going back 15 years, when I started getting these so-called telepathic communications that were supposed to be Anunnaki and spirit guides and everything else that they were sending me, when you get an official telepathic message like that, you believe it. I mean, the tendency is to fully believe it. I've been chosen,
Right.
And it becomes an ego trap. So I wasn't so much having an ego trap, but I felt like I had the inside information. Like I finally flushed out whoever it was staging these psychic events in my life. So it's really difficult for these people, especially once they've gotten notoriety and they got popularity, and even worse when they've started getting income coming in,
Right.
for them to drop this whole thing and say, I've been lied to, I realize I've been deceived, and I'm done. And that happened to me in 2020 right away, because I was told that by the handlers, through V2K, or you want to call it artificial telepathy, that the Trump administration had put a watermark on all the paper ballots that were still in use, and that this was tied to AI, and they were going to be able to determine if there was voter fraud and overturn the election based on that. So this was being pushed by a lot of disinfo agents, and it turned into this orgy of disinformation that kept taking place. And once we had the election, I mean, I literally saw 30,000 votes. It was 30 million, I don't remember, but it was Pennsylvania. I literally saw the count drop for Trump by like 30,000 or 30 million, whatever it was. It was a massive amount, something 30, something 30 something. And nobody said anything about it. They were literally adjusting the counts as we went. I always knew that it was rigged, but to what degree I didn't know. And then really what it is it's just like, we'll probably find this out in sports. Like everything is like pro wrestling. It's all predetermined.
It's all, yeah.
And so our elections are predetermined.
Of course.
And they're controlled systemically through multiple different types of control mechanisms. You have, first of all, you can only vote for the people they pick for you.
Right.
Then those people have to serve the system, and they won't get the money. Then it moves on to the next phase where you actually get to the ballot box. And of course, you also have the media shutting out anyone else who's a competitor.
Right.
Yeah, so they're narrowing down the information you're exposed to, and they're lying about everything. And they pretty much give you two sides of a false story. You got the left and the right. Neither one are being honest with you. They both work together behind closed doors. It's just like professional wrestling. They hate each other. You go backstage and they have a beer and they say, that was a great match. Let's plan the next one.
Right.
And that's what it is. So then once you get to the ballot box, you're just wasting your time.
Absolutely.
to make you
Well,
feel
you'll
good.
hear some people will talk about, oh, well, there's this one person, they're a good candidate, they're a real person. It's like, and they are. There are individuals that try to change the system, and they'll try to, but then they're going to get, it's like,
Alive.
yeah, I mean, their person is never going to get near. And if they do, if you start to see them, that means they probably had to knock at the door or whatever, and they're like, hey, you know, we're going to make you famous or you're going to win the election, but you better do this. And they use them as a counterintelligence.
Yeah, we've had two members of Congress so far resign over this. One was caught up in a sex scandal, which he probably was. These people are, they're a mess.
Yeah.
But whether he was or he wasn't, they didn't throw him. They didn't cleaning out everybody and proclaiming themselves moral, the morality police. They went
Right.
after him for an underage minor that he had something to do with, supposedly, allegedly. And this is Matt.
Well, you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So, but on the other hand, he was actually trying to do something, and he admitted that it was AIPAC and it was Israeli intelligence were behind it.
Oh yeah.
You got Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example. People hated her because of the right-left paradigm, and then she was caught up in the whole trans thing as the opposition to it. So people called her a bigot, and then this and that, and this and that, and then she's not playing along with the whole plan. So she gets threatened. They threatened her family. They threatened her. So she resigns over this. And the president, who she worked so hard to get elected and stood for, totally turns on her and calls her a traitor, even after she told him on the phone that she's getting death threats, and so are her kids and her family. So it's just like, but this is the Christian leader that everyone's looking forward to. And I remember, and I could be wrong about this one, I'm pretty sure, and this probably was done. Who knows how they did this with tech, obviously. Maybe it's just they got lucky. But there was a dove that landed on the podium with Trump. Meanwhile, at the same time, there was a fly and a locust hanging around Joe Biden and things like this. And so it's almost as if, it's as if all the demons are working on this too. It's just like there's so many things going on. It's just all encompassing. The average person looks at this and they get sucked right into it.
Oh, well, your average person is looking for signs. It was oh my God, I can't think of his name now. It was an old astrophysicist. Oh my, isn't this awful? I can't think. But he said that, as we move forward in the future, people are going to shift from analytical thinking. I disagree. I don't think people ever had analytical thinking. But anyway, everybody's going to start, playing with crystals and tarot cards and soothsaying and signs and wonders. And he was completely right. People today, there's no rational. They have a reactive way in which they live their life. Very little of it is rational, and they have this bizarre fixation on what's like the Hunger Games likability factor. Oh, I like this person. It doesn't matter who you like, or that's gonna nothing. You're just like, what does that have to do with anything? But they'll just pick and choose through people. I like this person. I like that person. I like that. It's like you're not reasoning.
No, that's as far as it goes. I hear
That's
that a
not.
lot. Well, I like that celebrity. Well, that celebrity's involved with this. No, they're not. No, they're not. That politician, no, they're not. No, they're not. I mean, and what really gets me is that, I see this from a broader perspective and a broader historical perspective. None of this is new.
No.
We're just regressing back to where we've been before. It's a cycle. So if you go back to ancient Egypt, according to remote viewing and actually what we see in people's past life regressions, it was a brutal place. It was either very harsh living, and if you spoke up, they killed you. And the ETs they didn't want any depictions of their self, or very, very little. That's why you don't see much. But, because it's like the robbers come in and they totally take over the pyramid complexes and they weaponize them for mind control. But, and I'll give you an example. There's this one particular part, Egypt, that is literally vitrified. The stone sculptures are blown apart. They've been heated. There's no question something happened. The quackademics point to, an isolated coronal mass ejection event, because that's all they have. There has to be some normal explanation for this. So
Oh,
when it was remote viewed, and Farsight did a remote viewing. I like to see more people do it, but they found basically a cannibalistic sex festival where people were being raped and mutilated and eaten and just eviscerated. And this was a festival that was going on, and then one ET group didn't like it, was in opposition to what the Orions were doing there, so they came in during the festival, I guess, or when it was, and just blew the hell out of the place and burnt it up and vaporized everybody. And so, but this is what's been going on. I mean, we're not that far from it. Once we cross this line, because we're at this line right now where everyone's looking and learning about Epstein, and so you're going to have kind of two camps of people. One is just going to say, well, they're all like that, and then there's nothing you can do about it. And then the other side is going to say, oh, well, now that it's been exposed, it's gone. It's Jeffrey Epstein's dead, or he committed, or he's away, and there's no more. This isn't happening anymore. Just like MK Ultra, it happened then, not happening now. And that's where we're moving. It's a form of acceptance. So it's either going to be, it's not, they're going to either be in denial of it, or just say, I don't know, there's nothing you can do about it. Let's just do the best we can and keep going to work, keep paying our taxes, and shut our mouths.
yeah.
Because the Dow's looking good, the stock markets. I'm just, it's like, as long as the economics are okay, which they're not going to be, because they're not.
I don't want to know.
People have been, I mean, if you go back to the 50s, it was nothing like this. What we're dealing with and what the future generations are dealing with is a hellscape. Everything costs too much by design. It's all being done intentionally.
100%.
Just like the release of karma, the World Economic Forum talks openly about all of this stuff. Brain transparency, putting a chip in there, monitoring thought, prosecuting you for pre-crimes, thought crimes.
Yep.
All of it. And, they even talk about what to do with the useless eaters. We'll give them drugs and video games.
Right.
We'll dope them up and we'll give them something to play.
The thing is, you know what? The useless eaters, they'd be happy with that.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're average person and you said, look, you know what? The government will take care. They've actually, we've seen this happen so many times in developing nations, where the masses of people, I don't know what's in there, they want a savior, either a savior situation or a savior person. I think that's a genetic implantation in the Terran. I think it's implanted. But yeah, if you tell people like, hey, look, you won't never have to worry about food or shelter or anything, and you just stick this in your head, and all you have to do is, sit in your house. And most people will be like, oh yeah, that's great. It's like,
yeah. And then until you actually get there, and then you realize they didn't give you enough money, and this unequal system or system of inequality is now worse, because they're already doing it to you. I mean, most people can't afford a vacation. The majority really struggle to do a vacation. When I was a kid, it was customary for families, poor families, to take a week off.
oh yeah,
live in Maryland, you went to Florida, or you went to Ocean City, or you at least did camping or something. You went to a campground. Those days are over with. It's a smaller and smaller number of people, or percentage of people can do it. Pro wrestling is an example of, the bread and circus, right? Typical. I remember being a kid, like, 16, 17 years of age, and a friend would always get tickets. They were $30 and $40 a ticket. I don't think you can touch a nosebleed seat for under 100, maybe under two, around $200, and it goes up way up from there if you want to get closer. So they've outpriced you in sporting events. Everything you buy there is overpriced, and it's garbage. You're paying gourmet prices for a hamburger and a hot dog and a drink. It's just there's really no creative outlets. If you want to be creative, you got to have money to do it. And they've made it to where the video games are the cheaper option. So we'll give you them. We'll just let you stagnate.
Well, yeah, you see it with the younger generations for sure. I've seen it, and the teachers are talking about it, and they're robots, really. They're just robots. They don't even know. They have no passions, no interest, it's sad. But my grandfather bought this house in 1934 for $500. He was an Italian immigrant, could barely speak English, worked in a factory, was married. My mom was already born, and they were living in an apartment another street over. And the selling feature of this house was indoor plumbing. So they're like, Frank, but he could have bought easily three houses. It's can you how many immigrants coming in here now, working a factory job could buy three houses?
People who lived there their entire life can't buy one.
Right. I mean, it's just,
People can't even buy one house, and I don't know where. I mean, where is this all headed? So that's really the question.
oh, I think we know this is all by design. We know where they're funneling people. This is what they're gonna do though, is people like myself who have a house, right? They're gonna start taking your property. That's the next thing they're gonna do. So they're gonna start to enforce. Like you're gonna have free choice though, just like the Covivity, thing that they did. Where like we're not making you do anything, but if you don't do this and we give you a donut, we're gonna take your job away.
Right, exactly. They already did
They're gonna
that.
do, yeah, they're gonna do,
Property taxes are killing people right now. You could pay off your house. They give you the illusion of ownership. You pay off your house, which is rare these days, because you got to keep taking out mortgages to pay off your debt just to survive. So you're sinking as you go. But if you happen to pay it off, then they could take your house for back taxes for property taxes.
well, they're gonna start taking people's houses, they're gonna start making up all kinds of things, right? So that's how they're gonna force people to take the mark of the beast, because what'll happen is you're only gonna be able to pay a certain way. So if you don't
Right,
take the mark of the beast, if you don't do what they want you to do, you're not going to be able to engage in commerce. So you're not going to be able to pay your taxes.
right. Which brings
So
up another one: crypto.
right, right. So,
So
so they're going to take your house because you want to pay your taxes, but you can't pay your taxes because you didn't take the stamp or the brain chip. So you can't
right,
actually do the digital payment. So it's
mhm,
to them, you're not paying, you're choosing. We gave you an option. See, if you want to keep your property, if you want to keep the house that you already own, just get the brain chip and pay your bills.
right.
That's
So
that's free choice. That's this is what they're going to do. And the same thing, if you remember during the Covivity era, people were cutting each other's throats. You want to kill my grandma, you
oh
know?
yeah,
Remember that?
people are getting in fights because somebody had their
Oh,
mask down, or somebody was standing too close to another person.
right. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But there was these massive campaigns of screeching lunatics everywhere, The science. You're anti-science. You're a caveman. You want to kill my grandma. My father died. I remember the screechers because I'd be like, my grandma died of some respiratory illness 3 years ago, but nobody gave a shit then. It was just a respiratory. You don't. Yeah. They would
Mhm.
become these deranged lunatics. I mean, you could see it in them. These people were genocidal. They didn't have any problem whatsoever.
Oh no! And now that the information's being admitted to gradually, it
Yeah,
always comes out slow. They're not even really getting to the heart of it,
yeah,
but they're pretty much telling everybody, okay, everyone that took this thing is going to have their life short and they're going to have a lot of problems, most of
yeah,
them. Okay, and the public is like, oh, okay, no problem. Let me know if you need me to get it again.
yeah.
I and I hear from people. I know, like personally myself, I know several people, less than five, but I probably know more, and I just don't even realize it because we haven't talked about it. They're injured by the stabination.
Just
So one of them has heart problems. The other one's got an autoimmune system problem where they're suddenly getting allergies, and they're actually go septic about once a year. They get some kind of a blood infection. They don't know what it is. They can't treat it. Just kind of goes away after they try a bunch of different things in the hospital. So it's like a $15,000 annual, cost of living increase because this person's got to go into the hospital. And what the weird thing is, he's had athlete's foot a couple of times because he buys like flea market shoes and never takes them off. So, try to tell him, but he still doesn't want to do that. He's ashamed of his feet. And the more he keeps them in the shoe, the better he feels, but the worse his feet look. So it just keeps getting worse. But needless to say, it starts out as athlete's foot or what appears like it. And then all of a sudden, he's got it. It's literally, they're talking, well, we might have to amputate your leg if it doesn't clear up. And his fever, he's got a high fever. He's sick. He's in the hospital in an IV. And it's like, with the copay, I think he had to pay close to 15 grand on the last one. It was like all these fees because he didn't meet his deductible until after he got out of the hospital. But so, and his attitude is, and he said it before, I'll get it again if I have to. Now he's like, well, I wouldn't do it again, but I know he would. I don't know anybody that's got a backbone. And I've spent years in a basement, not this basement, another basement when I was younger, hanging out with people shooting pool and everybody's drinking. And the only time that they had any courage is when they had liquid courage, alcohol. Once they got a few drinks in them, now they're going to take on the government. Oh, I'm not going to stand for that shit. I'll be out there, and no, you won't.
No, you won't.
You don't take a chance. And for one, whenever I bring something up, I'm told that I'm negative and to shut up. Nobody wants to hear this stuff.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear the conspiracies. These are from the patriots who are they're going to police the government. So I guess the answer to this is once it gets really bad, we can hide enough guns. Alcohol will still be legal because they want you to get medicated with it to be drunk. So we're just going to have to get beer trucks and distribute them across the country. And everybody's going to have to just drink up and get their guts and get that bravery in them when they get really shit-faced drunk, and then give them the guns that they had to hide and then tell them to go do something with them. That's the solution. I think that's the only solution that I see. And I really, it's like, where does this go? I know where it goes for me. I've got to get off the planet.
Me too.
So as far as the rest of these people are concerned, I don't know.
I don't give a. I couldn't give a fuck.
Yeah, because you try and you do, and all you do is get beaten up for it. It isn't just, it's bad enough that all the targeting that people like us go through. That's bad enough. Of course, you can't tell anybody on the outside of the situation about it, but that's horrible. And I've been through hell. But insult to injury when the very people you're trying to help dislike you for helping them. They don't like, they resent it. And that's what really gets me. And that's what just gets you get to the point where you're like, I'm done trying I don't care anymore. I'm just enough. No. I have to get myself out of this. And anybody that matters, then the only way that they matter is if they pay attention and care, because the rest of them don't. And it's an absolute tragedy.
Well, I think a lot of it is my father said this years ago. A lot. It's funny now that I'm looking back at some of the stuff he said years ago. I'm like, well, he was really on the ball. And he said the problem with society is that people have too much. As long as in your society, as long as people have the bare minimum, as long as they're screeching by, they don't have they'll never do anything until you literally pull the rug out from under them. So until the entire, what you might see cracks where there's some societal collapse here and there. But you're always going to have the goody two shoes, English here, the goody two shoes who just have enough, or upper middle class and have some bucks. They're going to cling to whatever they have. You're going to get gated communities. They're going to turn into, you're going to have like it was in Ireland with the pale, right? You're beyond the pale or you're in the pale. And the goody two shoes that have just enough, those are the ones who are like, yeah, but my daughters go to soccer on Friday. It's like, the fuck does that mean? They think that's important. They go to soccer on Friday. I actually think there's something, there's a, I don't know if there's a mental illness term for this, but those people have a mental illness where they don't register. It's more like something a 3-year-old, the way a 3 or 4-year-old would think, they don't register reality. Like their house would be burning down, but they'd be worried about vacuuming. It's like, there's no cohesive thinking here. And I always say it's the same thing with people who have kids. Like if you're having a kid now, it's like, what are you doing? Like what? But they have a magical thinking. It's like, I can't feed myself or house myself, but if I screw and have a kid, that kid will become a doctor, or that kid will become a big buck player, a basketball player, you know? And they have this fantastical, and of course, their kid is going to never be any of those things. They're just going to scrounge the same way they scrounged. It's just like, it's not, there's no, I don't understand.
I
There's,
know.
I can't even put words to it because most animals figure this stuff out. Like chickens have not only theory of mind, which is part of this, but they're able to plan ahead. So before you go screwing, right? Looking at society, looking at your own economic structure would be important, right? Because okay, hey, I'm having a hard time paying rent and my job isn't secure. So I need to get married to somebody else who can't pay their rent and their job isn't secure. And then we're gonna have 3 kids. It's like, but if you talk to people like that,
Very
all they
good.
do is screech, "That's my right. That's my right." It's like, what? So destroying your children's lives is your right? I mean, there's no way. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I noticed when I was younger and back when it's the early 20s, I guess, you'd see couples that are having problems
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're like on the verge of breaking up.
Right.
So they come up with a bright idea. Let's get pregnant
Yeah.
and that'll fix things. It'll give him or her an incentive. It's
Yeah.
usually the him because, the woman has the baby and has to carry the baby. But it's like, and it never worked. Every time that somebody did that, it was a divorce and then children out of wedlock. So that never worked. And I just realized how in denial people were. And I've had these uncomfortable discussions where it's like, my child loves to play video games.
Right.
And when he grows up, he's going to be a video game designer. I know it.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
like, okay.
Yeah.
And then somebody else was like majoring in family. I won't say who, but majoring in whatever you got to. I think it's environmental something. It's to be a park ranger is what they wanted. Well, and they're going to be really successful at it. Well, no, they weren't. And in fact, his college degree never got utilized because neither him or his girlfriend, who both majored in it, got married, could use it. So she's doing daycare or something, and then he's doing like lineman work where he's putting down like power lines and stuff.
Yeah.
But his environmental whatever degree, whatever it was, whatever he majored in, is totally useless.
Of
And
course.
he never got to be that park ranger. Never got to live in the cabin in the woods and all that stuff. Because how many park rangers are there? Very few.
Sure.
There's just not a need for it. And
Oh, there's not any. Well, that's, I will have to say though, I think now people are smartening up because I just got a letter from Worcester State on their email, right, from the president. He's a weirdo. Now I can talk whatever I want about that bullshit. But they're fucking hurting. No one's going. So I'm like, this
lower the damn
young
tuition.
generation, they're finally not listening to their fucking. It's kind
Right.
of sad, and I'm sure a lot of kids are realize young people, kids, whatever, are realizing that their parents are fucking morons.
Yeah, and we
And
said it
that's
when we
kind
were
of sad. I mean,
developing.
it's got to be you're like, holy shit. My mom and dad are fucking retarded idiots, right? And they're like, I'm not gonna go to a stupid college where I'm forced to take moronic. I used to feel so bad teaching shit. I try to make
Mhm.
it interesting and useful. But we were forced to teach certain bullshit, right? And most of your college classes, until you get into a major, where you should be into your major right away, not only into your major, but while you're studying in your degree major, you should be also working in the field. There should be a job at the end. There should be like an apprenticeship program. There has to be something at the end. But so they're ripping these people off, giving them degrees that are freaking worthless. We knew they were worthless in 1994 when I graduated. So, and it's just year after year after year of these poor, these young people being forced by their fucking brain dead parents to get some degree that's completely useless, being
Yeah,
and not have any way of. I mean, now if you're a young person, you have college debt. There's no way you're gonna feed yourself, house yourself, and pay off debt. There's no way.
no, I got that. I mean, they and I've had debt. A lot of my debt is due to interest. When I got sick, was targeted
Yeah.
and had a bunch of surgeries and things,
Excuse me.
and I still got to get it straight. I'm still climbing back into the workforce, and after years of this stuff, years of suppression, but it didn't get me anywhere. I mean, I learned more again. I became a much better writer because I applied myself, but I really had the skills before that.
Yeah.
I didn't even need to go and pass the test.
No.
But, needless to say, I was told the same lie. If you're going to get your hands dirty, learn a trade, but you don't want to do that. You got more longevity if you go to college, and then you go into all this debt, and everything's going to be better. And we were sold bullshit. We were sold a bill of goods that wasn't true, and they're still pushing it. And it's sad to see the decline. But
I think people are not. I think people are freaking
yeah,
waking up. I used to teach that actually, how stupid it was.
maybe they're getting smarter.
Well, people are.
Sort of.
Yeah, I think it's going to suck because it's like, what are you going to do? This is where we're at. I mean, I think we're at a. You've got 5 jobs, let's say, and 500 people applying. It's like I don't understand how they're going to maintain society because you're actually you even if you want to work and I did and I know we're in the same boat, but when I was growing up I wanted to you want to do something, you want to
Yeah,
go.
you're
Yeah,
anxious to get things started. You wanted to be
yeah,
out from your parents'
yeah.
roof.
And then when you get out into the world you tried and struggled and you never got anything, and you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking the fuck is going on, and then you hear from me I always heard the bullshit like, oh well, you got a PhD, everybody wants that. Like, ain't nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. There's no jobs in that. There's so many PhDs that are literally homeless right now. You know,
Yeah,
it's like all society wants are slave labor, low. My friend just lost his company folded, and he's been there forever. And he's an engineer, a lab technician. They do lab testing. He's an electrical engineer, and so a new company was going to take over, and he's like, I have everything you need right now because I've worked in this lab for like 5,000 years. He's like, and I know how to do this. And the going rate is X salary, right? And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll give you like, a pittance. So he's like, fuck you. But that's what's happening. Why would you? Because company isn't this company is renowned for buying up companies that fold and then they just run them into the ground. So they hire idiots, but I blame the Terrans themselves because essentially they're digging their own grave. It's like, oh, I'll work for less than you. I'm a nobody. I'll work for nothing. It's like,
right. Meanwhile, there's all these people saying we need to get rid of our borders because the internet's here. We don't need to have borders. Well, at least they kept the slaves in pens. That way, a group of slaves didn't go to another pen and make it too full.
this actually was part of the cabal agenda. So this is what people have to understand. Those people with the anti-immigrant, that's all part of their agenda. They want to create sectarian violence. But
Yeah, they do both sides.
this has been going on. Once they opened up the collapse of the first world countries. So firstly, there should be no third world countries. That's cabal.
Yeah,
But this began decades ago when they started opening up so that, jobs that were the job I knew, which was writing, right? So writers, if you were a writer in the United States, you would make a United States wage simply because, well, the cost of living here dictates that you would need X amount of money to actually feed yourself, right? Then they began hiring people from third world countries to do the same writing. Now their writing sucked, but nobody gave a shit because they do it for $2, literally
and
$2.
now and now AI is doing it.
And now AI is doing it. So we're actually so AI and the robotics, we were sold a bill of goods that they would do the jobs no one wanted to do. Therefore, humans would be left to enjoy and do jobs that they were passionate about. It's the complete opposite. The robotics and the AI is doing all the jobs that people want to do. Is doing music, is doing art, is doing everything. And people actually don't have a job anymore. So humans themselves, if you want to live in a commercial system, you're now obsolete.
Right. I don't even know how people afford cars. I mean,
I don't know what.
when an economy car is $40,000 and your average pickup truck or van
Oh,
is 60,000 to 100,
yeah, yeah.
somewhere in there. I mean, it's just impossible to do that. And the cars, they don't last. They're full of garbage junk because they need to be lighter, they need to be more fuel efficient, but they won't give you the tech to make it really fuel efficient. Vaporizing carburetors, they killed those people off and got rid of them. They heated the gas to a plasma, supposedly 375 degrees Fahrenheit. It uses the engine heat and it expands the gas molecules and you get a more efficient burn.
Right, right.
No, mostly 80% of your gas goes out through your exhaust in your catalytic converter, and all they're doing is burning it in a wasteful way.
Yeah,
And then that's it. And they're recycling some of that gas to the engine,
right.
and the cars, the trucks, they don't last anymore. They cost an extraordinary amount of money.
Oh,
Instead of making a door panel with 10 components, so when one breaks, you just replace that. Now you got to replace the whole thing, and it's only going to be made. As soon as your car is paid off, we're going to discontinue all the spare parts. So you're just going to be caught with junk aftermarket, and then you're going to be forced into a new car purchase, which you can't afford. And now they want to, what do they give you, a 30-year mortgage? I mean, a 30-year loan on a car. That's like 10, 20 years. I really, it's not going to be long before people are fighting over food in the streets and just turning into savages. And then they're going to have a solution for that. That's when you bring the military in and the lockdowns happen. And of course, there'll be some pandemics in there, But
yeah, they're planning some juicy stuff in the next coming years. I feel like there's a push from the cabal that they really want to start. They're tired of waiting, the collapse isn't happening. I think they're a little bit surprised that the Terrans are as tenacious as they are, and I think they're going to start pushing. And I'm curious to see, because I don't give a shit where this actually, what their next game plan is, but it's definitely interesting.
I have no interest in being here, being part of it, observing
Yeah,
it.
I'm not.
It's gotten to the point where it hurts. It's literally bad. And I was just talking to you about the medical system, how bad that is.
Oh, I would. Well, personally, I don't have anything to do with it. I don't use the medical system. I
Are you
haven't
lucky?
used the medical system in, oh my God, let me see, do my math here. Since I was a teenager. I mean, that's like, I don't know, that's a long time. And I have had nothing my whole life wrong with me. As long as I stay away from people, I don't pick up germs. And I have nothing wrong with my body. So I only use Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine. And of course, I got to pay out of pocket for that. So I'm forced to pay every month for health insurance that actually doesn't pay anything because I don't use modern medicine. And I only have it in case, catastrophic car accident, so because the deep state tried to kill me in 2016 with a head on. They actually tried again. When was it? Saturday? Saturday. Yeah. Because I live in a country when our roads are all like this, we're windy little cow paths. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm going and I see there's this old lady and she's driving and it's like her head's down. I see her head kind of go down a little bit and her car's going like, crossing the lanes. So I'm like, and there's no place to pull off here in Massachusetts because it's just the woods, right? you know. So I'm like, all right, so I slam my brake on and I honk my horn to like wake this bitch up. And she was 100%. I think they had mind control her because she was like this. I'm like,
Probably medicated with all these different drugs they want to give you.
oh yeah, she was ready for we were gonna hug. Yeah, it was like and I was just like after that, holy shit, this is the same because the way our roads are, you can't see another car coming before it's
Right.
because there's no,
You got to be in your lane or you're getting hit.
yeah, and when she was coming in my lane. And yeah, I'm like, wow, I mean, calling our roads lanes is kind of you can barely fit two cars on these lanes. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like, but we got morons driving around here and on these country, like you can't see the roads are cow paths, literally New England roads. you got these city idiots that moved out because they got all the money and buying the million dollar homes that are here. And it's like they're going like full speed. They can't see around the corner, but they don't give a fuck. They're flying in their BMWs.
You know, nothing's went wrong in their life. They're lucky. They got everything going for them. They were successful.
I don't think so. I think a lot of them are hand to mouth. Yeah, because they're not that they're really dumb. They're dumb people.
Well, in their mind, they're doing well. This is the new. This
Yeah,
is
but
the
they're
new
they're
normal.
they're scraped. They're like one paycheck away because they spend every pile of money, every penny they get, they spent, right? So they're like these people are one paycheck away from like losing their $1 million house. They really are. So
They'd have to be because I'm looking around here, just in where I live at. It's ridiculous. One of the highest priced areas in the country,
yeah, 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 yeah.
right around DC and just north of it. And you know, Montgomery County is one of the richest counties in the whole country. And
Wow.
that's really far for me. But I don't know how people make it. I mean, I see big houses. I know they're worth millions of dollars. Even if you pay them off, the property taxes are horrible. The
Oh yeah.
heat, the air conditioning, all the utilities are high. They got a Tesla parked out front,
Hmm.
and it's like, where do these people work? And the only thing I can fathom is either they either got a Somali daycare center, they're in a military industrial complex, or they're in some kind of part of government where they've got a very comfortable spot,
Yeah.
or they own a business that still hasn't been that's still viable and still functioning and can produce revenue.
Yeah.
But I don't. For the rest of everybody else, I don't know how the hell they do it.
I have no idea. No.
And all it takes is just one illness and you're screwed. And you know, I never understood the insurance system where it's like you're paid up for the following month at your work, but if you got to have a surgery that's 6 months going to be out, like a spinal surgery or something, or anything like that, it's going to take 6 months or 4 to 6 months. How do you get through that? Why? Who planned this, and why isn't the public objecting to it? They
No, they
take
don't
less
want
and less all the time, and they're more than willing to give it all up. They don't see, and it's always, and always hear, I don't want to have to pay for somebody else's health care. Well, then go away and pay cash for it yourself. Just go away. The rest of us need to get through this.
I do. I pay out of pocket because they don't pay I get nothing out of the health insurance I pay every month.
Yeah, and it wasn't that long ago they wouldn't even give it to you if you had any pre-existing conditions.
Well, I don't. I mean, so I don't have anything like that, but yeah, the only reason I have health insurance in case there's a car accident or something like that,
Yeah,
At
what
that
they do.
random catastrophic, because I don't plan on, I would never go to any medical facility for anything. If the Chinese guy can't fix it, I ain't fixed. I'm out. Like that's my out. I would never. I have no interest in. I have no interest in going overboard to live here. I don't even want to be here. So it's like if something pops up that gets me out of here, I'm out. That's my so
James Rink, who recently passed away. I
yeah,
spoke
yeah.
to somebody who was really close to him that helped him uh, last couple of years and was really, really there for him at the end. And she told me that the last that he knew that he was sick with this about, I think, not 100% sure this is what she said, but about 2 years, maybe. And if you look at the videos, you can see visually a decline in his health.
Yeah.
But he was to the point where he was, I'm not even going to bother with the medical system. He
Oh
didn't
yeah.
do any of that.
No.
He just accepted his fate
Yep.
and didn't get any kind of treatment. If he got some treatment, I don't even, maybe he'd still be here. I don't know. But I mean, I guess he just reached the point where he was just fed up with it and figured that if I go take that route, it's either going to prolong the suffering or they're going to get me some other way.
Yeah.
And he didn't bother. And I can definitely see that. It's just with me, I've got responsibilities and things I got to do. So I'm stuck in this medical system. I got to use it for just to get up every day and be able to function. And that's because they destroyed me over
Yeah.
the course of my life. Before I was even in my 20s, I was multiple surgeries, had all these problems, and it just kept getting worse. So I'm doing much better now, but I'm still totally dependent on the medical system.
It's anybody who's dependent, you're fucked. You are fucked.
Exactly. And it's not there. I mean, they say it's there, they tell you it's there, but then when you go to use it, you don't have any coverage, or this isn't covered, or that's not covered. I mean, when you got to draw your own blood out of your
Oh,
own
I
body
know.
at a point every month by yourself because your insurance won't cover it
Yeah,
when it's a life-threatening condition, it's like, what's going on here? And when I say don't cover it, they leave you with most of the full payment, and like what normally would be your copay is what they pay.
right.
You know, it's like, oh, 80/20. No, you pay 80, we pay 20, and we need our premium. Oh, and if you don't pay us, the doctor won't even see you because they know that you don't have any money at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you pay up front. So good luck with that.
Oh no, it's well, if you think about it, and I knew this from a guy who was in the pharmaceutical industry, and this was in 2000, 2003, and it's a business model. It's a business. It's not a healthcare thing. It's a business. So the more they can screw you up, the more they can let stuff get worse. That's the
Yeah.
goal. Because if I'm trying to make money off you, I don't want to kill you. I want to keep you either chronically ill or
Yeah.
necessarily kill you off because that's not good for business. The more I can keep you incapacitated and the more I can sell you more products, the better my business model is.
Yeah. It's the Rockefeller medical system.
Of
They
course,
spent
that's just common sense. So,
they spent $5 billion in oil money back in the turn of the
yes,
century to go around the universities and
yeah,
change the way we did medicine to where it wasn't a cure. We need a treatment, not a cure.
exactly. And
Well,
that's known. Yeah, and I know, and I've heard this from, I've had friends who were nurses, I've spoken to many nurses, and they're like, you need to know what the hell is going on. But most people don't. They walk in there and they're like, oh, do whatever you want, They're dumb. Instead of saying, wait a minute, let's see what this is. What does this do? What you gotta start researching, you gotta do your own work, you gotta figure stuff out on
well,
your
I've
own.
taken gift for that. Like I've had doctors where they didn't like it that I did any research.
Of course they don't,
They,
because they're trying to
I'm
find.
self-diagnosing. So I'm self-diagnosing, and then and I'm calling them out and there's problems with the kid. So I'm the difficult patient. But then when I tell people this
Yeah.
after the fact, they're like, well, you're doing it all wrong. Okay, well, you're the genius, you're the successful person. Tell me how to do it. And
Right.
their answer is you go in there, you don't say anything, you let the doctor figure out what's wrong with you, give them the bare minimum, tell them, answer their questions, but don't offer any information. Don't show them that you know any better or know anything, and then let them define what's wrong with you and how it's going to be treated, and just keep your mouth shut and pay your copay and whatever else. And it's just like, well, if I would have done that this whole time, I would have been dead because over and
That would
over
be
again, they have not treated me or misdiagnosed me, and I've been right most of the time. And if I'm not right, I'm more accurate than they are over a span of time because they're only seeing me for a moment, and
right.
then I'm gone, and somebody else is there. I'm thinking about myself all the time. I'm dealing with this. I'm looking into it. And a lot of it was medical COINTELPRO stuff. But I mean, the system itself is so bad now. I've literally found myself blaming handlers when it was actually everybody else was going through it too.
Mhm.
And it's disgusting. So we got to go soon. But I was going to ask you,
Yeah, I know I'm already late.
religion has been a big problem and a big part of this, a big part of the brainwashing. It gets people to think in that kind of theistic or way of thinking
Yeah,
to where
magic,
you've
it's
got
magic
Savior.
thinking. Yeah, magic
Right.
thinking.
It's groupthink. It's waiting for a savior that never comes. And they always say the same thing. It's like, I'm like, well, what are you going to do about all this stuff? And people get on me. They're like, oh, you're always. I'm told that I've brought all of the targeting on myself by focusing on negative things. Right. So I've attracted demons or something. Right.
Oh,
So
that's nonsense. That's medieval.
right.
That's medieval. I don't waste my time with people like that. I don't. They're they want to live in the 1600s or 1500s. I don't. You got a whole bunch of people that are anti-religion, but they follow black magic.
Oh, that's another good one.
Well, that's black. The idea of demons and all these things that are invading you're an idiot. I mean, there really isn't a whole lot of I'm not saying there aren't these dark elementals and things that are around, but they're not very powerful. And yeah, it's just, yeah, that's
Well, they are if you consent. So I can tell you that.
Well,
That's the whole point. They
you
got to get
consent.
consent. That's like everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's a lady in the community that said something recently. Her name's Lauren, and she does these rants or reports or in her room in her house. And she said something that kind of summed up the whole disclosure community in like one line. She's like, "Dude, you're in the metaverse. You're doing witchcraft." And I just thought it was so bizarre of a phrase that I still laugh about it because I could just envision this person who doesn't engage in society. They're somehow managed to be temporarily okay and secure financially. They spend all their time on Facebook. They're doing witchcraft, and they're bugging the crap out of people. And I just thought, I was like, wow, how many people does that really sum up? And what's with this witchcraft all of a sudden? It's like all of these love and light people are doing black magic.
They're doing it's witchcraft. The
I
love
mean,
and light it's always been the New Age community. That's just a weird cult.
yeah, and I think
A
we need
lot of
to
it was very popular. You had remember the Wicca. Everybody would join Wicca. I'm a Wiccan. They didn't like they were Catholic or whatever, and then all of a sudden they're like, I don't like established religion. I'm going to be a witch. It's like what do you think that is? It's like
right, and then it ties into the feminism.
yeah, yeah. They all became the Earth goddess, Mother, Queen, whatever. That's another whole group of like the moss kissers and the tree hugging Earth. I'm whatever. I don't. It's just weird. It's like I don't. I don't. Hey, if that floats your boat, that gets you through the day. You want to think you're an Earth goddess, pink fairy. Go ahead. I don't have a problem with that, but that doesn't enter my. I have no. That's. I don't know what to say to that. I really.
I don't know either, but I do know that New Age influence, and I've said this before, and it's very unpopular when I've said it before, and it only goes over well with the people who get it. I firmly believe that the New Age movement was a military and still is a military program.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I tell people disclosure is a military program.
Yeah, and it's just the same people will accept when you say something like, okay, the 60s hippie anti-war movement was an engineered co-opted movement in order to discredit people protesting the Vietnam War. Okay.
Right. Yep.
And they needed a counterculture movement, so they created one. They had Timothy Leary going out using all of this LSD. He never got busted. Got the Grateful Dead tour for decades. They got drugs everywhere. Yep. Not one single undercover, not one single bust, nothing. Yep. And you got, Abby Hoffman, another one, and they're all going out telling people to drop acid and drop out.
Yep.
Tune out and do all this stuff. But nobody ever got busted, not one time, except for the people listening to them.
Right.
Every Grateful Dead show, they would take a busload or two of victims of the drug war out of there in cuffs. Some of these people would get mandatory minimum sentences for LSD, like 20 years. He said some peace-loving hippie guy or girl goes to prison for 20 years.
Yeah.
What does that do for anyone? It's destroying someone's life. The whole thing.
Oh, they don't care.
But they co-opted that. They engineered that. But then when you tell the same, or just people who would accept that, and oh yeah, that makes sense. I heard about that. They think they're awake and they're informed, and you say, well, by the way, this New Age thing is also a co-opted fake movement.
Yep.
It's born out of the need for a better form of spirituality. Okay, but of course, the same people will say, well, yeah, the church was under the control of the Roman Empire, and that's why I'm not part of that. That's all a control system. But there's just one exception to the rule. Everything's been corrupted. Everything's been co-opted except for the New Age movement. And if you suggest that it is, you're either an agent or a very negative person, a troublemaker who is not of the love and light.
Right.
And you deserve to be marginalized. And I've taken so much shit for this. This is why, well, there's many reasons why, but this was the biggest one, why I'm still kind of I'm marginalized in the overall community in a big way. If you look at the bigger picture with all these bigger podcasters, there's two reasons. One, if you just make the assumption or just say that the military is working with these ETs, so these loving ETs are actually they're actually abducting people with with the help of the military and the rubber stamp of the government,
Yeah.
right? They don't like to hear that because that's like, oh my God, that goes against the ET savior narrative.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then the second strike against me was to say that, hey, not only is the New Age movement an engineered psyop, it's a co-opted, manufactured movement to
Yep.
entrap people waking up
Yep.
from this, waking up to the nature of reality and wanting something more. It's a way to entrap them.
Of course.
Oh, you're like the worst person. Nobody wants to talk to you, and still to this day. And then you mix in QAnon. And if I question that, and I don't, and I question the white hat narrative, that's like three strikes and you're out.
Well,
You
and
know?
what you're actually see the thing is all of those are, and if you study, people can just Google this, but they're all cults. So the way
Yeah.
they all operate is as a cult operates. So what you're trying to do is pull somebody out of a cult, and that's extremely difficult to do when there's because when somebody is in a cult, which every one of those things is, the ufology thing, it's all those are all cults. You can't pull someone out of there. They have to come out of it themselves because they've been brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way you can save anybody from that until they're ready to be lived. It's like a drug addict. You can't pull somebody out of drugs not until they're ready to stop taking drugs. It is everything you see with these, a lot of the ET shit that's going on now is all cult. It's a cult. That's period. And all of you can see their followers. They mimic them. They babble off the same bullshit. And it's like, and I'll always tell people, look, I have a vision of something. Is I like I have no proof of this. I'm talking about like a higher self or source or whatever. I have no proof of this. This is the only thing that kind of gets me through, reality. But I have no proof of this. No one does. So, and I say all the same thing with near-death experiencers. Well, the near-death experiencer, they're not dead. They didn't die. They might
Right.
have been given a
Right.
vision. You don't know what the hell happened to that person. Now, what they're saying is real. They actually saw that, but they're not telling you what the afterlife is like. Because guess what? They're still alive and they're here. So until you give me somebody who's actually dead, hi, I'm Joe and I'm dead. you know,
Well, we have fakers coming through like that too.
I mean, well, you can't. People have to they're so eager to swallow the Kool-Aid and the nonsense, and then you start to become programmed where you're used to swallowing that shit, and it's just like you're in a cult.
And it's a seamless cycle of cults too, because I've seen an interview recently. Don't remember the lady's name. She speaks with a heavy Eastern European accent. She does a lot of NDE research,
Oh,
astral projection. I was listening to her part of her interview, and I'm like just waiting to hear the love and light stuff. I didn't hear it at all. In fact, it was refreshing to hear somebody else saying the same things that I've been saying. I only speak from experiences. I rarely ever go and look at something and then repeat what somebody said. And if I do, I always source it because I don't want to be associated with it when it's wrong. And I don't want to take somebody's material and not give them credit for
yeah, yeah.
it. So I don't have her name, but if you see her, she's probably our age, like 50s. But she was talking about this one particular influencer, and if you go out there and you talk about NDEs and you talk about the ET deception and the soul recycling, you get shadow banned literally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, why is that? So if they weren't in on it, I'm not saying they're directly on, they're indirectly on it because you go on a list of you're on there a terrorist and all sorts of other undesirable people, and all you've done is question the near-death experience, and now you're on the same list as Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but she said, there's this one influencer out there, and I don't remember what his name is, but he's been all over Facebook, all over YouTube. Everybody wants to talk to this guy. He had a near-death experience, and he explored all of these what I call virtual reality AI generated realms
Right.
of wonderful afterlife thing. And she pointed that out. She goes, he's told everybody about all this stuff, but I don't believe that he's seen anything that's real. He really saw it. But what he saw was something that was generated by this soul recycling system.
Bingo.
And people don't get that. And, it's like, how do you explain this to them, especially when you're trying to talk to somebody that is still wrapped up in the Christian religion, where it's heaven or hell at the end and your whole life is a test and you get one shot. So if you were only alive for 5 minutes, or if you got aborted, what happens then? You get a pardon? You get like a second chance? I mean, by that logic, what happens then? But it just
No, well, there's no logic there. Those people are going to jump right back in because they're going to poke and they're going to go to the light and see Jesus. And then they're going to be like, hey, yeah, you can get a second chance. Oh, really? They're talking to Jesus or Mary or an angel or whatever. And, they all jump right back into the system. And it's like, hee hee hee. But, I don't, I no longer have anything to do with people like that. I just say, good luck, enjoy your many, many incarnations here on the prison planet, but I'm getting the fuck out.
Right, enjoy yourself. 15 or 20 years ago, it's been about 20. I was always interested in this topic, but it wasn't about 20 years ago. I really started scrutinizing the NDEs. And what I saw was that everyone was seeing whatever they thought they would see, they were being fed.
Of course.
They were having this experience making their own belief system. So, number one, that's a red flag. How can everybody be right? Okay, so you have that, and then then you look into how many people have NDEs. Well, first off, there's no recording system. There's no you flatline, a nurse comes in or a caseworker comes in and says, "Did you have an NDE?" That doesn't happen. I don't know how they tabulate the statistics in this, but based on the number of people that they did tabulate statistics on, this was Raymond Moody's work, who did a couple documentaries, wrote a few books. And I don't know what he was part of, if there's an organization or what that did this, but it was like a very small, I think could have been 5% of people who die and are resuscitated have this experience. So why is it that the majority, over 90%, don't have an NDE? And this is out of just a group of people that they surveyed, which is a sampling, and they assume this would be similar, close to what the population gets. So let's say they're right there. If less than 10% people who pass away would come back and resuscitated have this experience, then why is that? And why are they all seeing what they want to see? It becomes obvious what this is. This is a deception. It's the final deception, the final lie you're fed after you've suffered your entire life. And now you're going to be fed that you're not worthy to get out of here and that you're unfinished and there's this big program for you to do and you've got to do this and that. And it's so awful and disgusting.
It is.
Nobody questions it. But it's social engineering when you really look at it. And when you start to bring that up, you become a little tiny minority that I'm also in, which is the people that say, okay, they only let the majority, they let the majority go without an experience. So they just come back. It's like being in a coma. But the small percentage of people, these are the people who are going to talk to others. They fit into two categories. The one is the charismatic one that goes out and writes books and does videos and gets no shadow banning. The media opens right up. They become a star, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have the ones that are more private that just tell someone. And then that person tells another person. And then, they influence that way. So what you're doing is you're saving labor. You don't have to overwork the AI. You don't have to get all these fake angels. Nobody has to put their costumes on.
Fake angels.
It's less work. It's less work that way. But you only need a certain segment of people that are going to talk for you and explain what happened. And then they go out and they convince society. And then, of course, the system, the social media, the news and everything, the cable TV, satellite TV, all these networks, they all want to talk about the good story because it's popular. It catches people's attention. So they're incentivized to put out the fluff, but you'll never see a program on that really breaks this down and says, wait a second, this is clearly wrong. Something's wrong here. This doesn't go along with the Bible, the Quran. It doesn't go along with the Torah. None of these other religions. I mean, the only thing it actually matches pretty closely is Gnostic Christianity, which warns of all this stuff, that there's a trap at the end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that would be if you're going to get into a religion, I guess that would be the part you want to look at.
Yeah.
Good luck finding all of it because it isn't exactly promoted. But it's really, really bad. And I'm just wondering, where does this end for all of us? Where does this go? And, if you look at the big picture, I mean, we may actually, the human race, and I wouldn't say me, but people may look like grays in the future after the WEF has their final agenda where everybody's a robot and you don't need emotions, you don't need genitalia, you don't need any secondary sexual characteristics. You just need to look just like this, and we're only going to let the ones who can do the work and live, and the rest are going to die, and we'll put them somewhere else. It's kind of wondering, it's like, because I know there's more planets like this. This is one of many prisons.
Many, 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 many. But yeah,
So if it's a cataclysm, they just
I
kind of
look
shit.
at it. I think everybody, you just gotta think. You gotta stop. I would say, stop following people. Think for yourself. You know, analyze what's happening to you, and if it floats your boat, start planning how the hell you're going to get out of here. And I'm going to fight. Like I said, we both have planned that, and most of our followers here, we're all going to fight until the end. And it is what it is, basically. But
When it comes right down to it, they need consent to do
oh
this
yeah,
to you.
we're no consent. Nope, nope.
And they will make you forget to not give consent in order to get consent. So you have to be really resistant to all of it.
I think it's great practice now for people to stop believing all these psyops and stop. Oh, I just watched Epstein did another drop. Stop following the news. Stop jumping on all this shit. I still I still see people do this. Oh, did you hear what they just said? No, I don't care. Like this is practice now. While you're conscious, anything you see thrown at you, throw it away, push it away, you know? And that's a warning. But again, it's free will. If people want to jump on all these popular psyop bandwagons, you can do that. Do your thing. But I don't give a fuck. And it is what it is. But I have to run. I'm like super late now, and you are too. So
Yeah, I
I
gotta go
want to
finish.
just thank you again. Thank all of our viewers, of course, for sticking with us, and our thinking viewers, right? And also for Nathan to have you on again, because we're going to be doing more podcasts anyway. But um, awesome, right? So
This is basically the rant podcast.
rant. No, we're gonna be ranting, baby. We're gonna rant.
Something very, very targeted and specific because, it kind of helps people figure some of this out. We'll just have to figure that out between now and then.
We're the asshole podcast. They're assholes. I hate them. They're haters. They're hating.
I know they won't be involved. They're not going to be invited to our conference coming up in
They hate
Sedona.
conference.
I mean, conferences are fun. I went to one. Everybody was great, but you get attacked while you're there. It's
Oh, well,
expensive,
I don't.
and you kind of leave there with a kind of a high. It's like and then you get back to reality, and nobody else is like that. So you got to deal with the regular public, and it just kind of wears off, and you have to ask yourself, what do we really accomplish? Well, there's some small accomplishments, but for the big picture, I'm really not seeing it. I think I don't see this larger movement.
I never go to conferences because they're nothing but ego parties. They're just ego parties. So I don't.
I didn't see that the one I went to, but some of them can be that, and you can tell which ones that are going to be that way. It's the ones that exclude voices like myself. So if I'm invited to speak at a conference, then obviously it's definitely better than the rest of them, because you never see me gracing the posters that they put up and the ads of me speaking at any one of these ones that are really, really popular. I'm at the one where everybody doing it goes in, loses more money each year than there's not even any breaking even.
Yeah.
And it's like nobody wants to go there. And it's like, why? You're getting closer to the truth if you go there. But if you go over here, it's all of the same crap that you listened all year. It's just now polished up and on a stage, and with all a bunch of fake accolades, and everybody's like, hey. And
I don't do human things anymore. I don't go near people. I don't have anything to do with that. All right. Well, thank you again.
For the locals.
This was awesome, and thank you so much, Nathan. And we'll have some more of these, coffee table things as the weeks progress. So
There you go.
thank you so much, guys. And as always, we'll see you upstairs.
Great. Take care.